As an active Jujutsu High student, Kinji Hakari was often labeled as self-absorbed and rebellious. When Kinji's classmates were asked about him, they would describe him as, quote, an absolute jerk or a good for nothing. He was even suspended from Jujutsu High for his constant disputes with the school higher-ups, and he often cared little for the school's rules and regulations. Kinji, if anything, was a man of passion, and one thing he cared about was seeing others get lost in their passions, or as he called it, fever. However, even though Kinji had such an abrasive personality, no one questioned his incredible talent. With incredible combat skill and a powerful curse technique, there were very few sorcerers that could get in his way. Satoru Gojo was even quoted saying that Kinji had the potential to be as good as him one day. But how did this self-absorbed delinquent become such a figure in the Jujutsu world? This is the story of Kinji Hakari. During the early chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen, Gojo Satoru was quoted saying that Kinji had the potential to reach Gojo's level. Now for added context, Gojo Satoru is not just the strongest sorcerer of his time, he is most likely one of the strongest sorcerers of all time. For Kinji to be compared to Gojo showed how ridiculously strong Kinji was and how his power was perceived. Now it's not just Kinji's teachers or higher-ups that recognized his powers, his classmates also recognized how strong he was. Fellow classmate Yuta Kotsu, who's a special grade sorcerer and just a downright monster, stated that Kinji was exceptionally strong, and when worked up, Kinji was stronger than Yuta himself. Now how does someone like Kinji deal with all this power? Does he go and protect people from curses? Is he a kind soul like Yuta? Well, it might be surprising, or maybe not, depending how you look at it, but Kinji is actually just self-absorbed and kind of lazy. Well, lazy might not be the right word either, because Kinji does put effort into something when a situation meets his criteria. For Kinji, life is all about passion, and his desire is to see people get lost in their own passions. Kinji calls this a fever that's burning hot, and he believes every person alive has this fever. Now, oftentimes, his self-absorption or even obsession with this concept put him into constant disputes with the higher-ups of Jujutsu High. The higher-ups were used to strict rules and regulations that were expected to be followed at all times, while Kinji could care less. This back and forth between both Kinji and the higher-ups lasted for a while until the situation reached its climax. According to sorcerer Megumin Fushiguro, because of the constant disputes, Kinji was suspended from Jujutsu High and ceased to be involved in any school activities. Kinji, looking to spread fever, saw this as an opportunity and opened an underground fight club that promoted gambling.
The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club. The second rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
Kinji's goal with his fight club was to use the gambling aspect of the club to manipulate all of Japan's fever. But how does a guy who is so pushed aside by the Jujutsu higher-ups expect to reach this goal? Well, the simple answer is power. While Kinji wasn't powerful or honestly evil enough to just force his will in the Jujutsu world, power allowed Kinji to get more special treatment. His potential and talent probably made it so that he was only suspended, not expelled, and his power is what allowed him to help out other people in exchange for something he needed. Kinji was just at that level. In describing his power, Kinji is very skilled in combat and his curse technique is both powerful and unique. It reflects his personality as the base of his technique is a gambling machine, or more specifically, a pachinko machine. Now, if you don't know what pachinko is, it's basically a slot machine game that is very popular in Japan. Players shoot metal balls to the top of the machine, then as these balls come back to the bottom, they trigger the slot machine to spin. Now the big goal in pachinko is to get the biggest payout, and to achieve this, the player will want to hit as many jackpots as possible. Every spin has a chance to hit a jackpot, and certain spins, depending on the theme of the machine, can create events that increase the probability of hitting a jackpot. To put it simply, this is more or less how the pinnacle of Kinji's technique works. When Kinji used his domain expansion, named Idle Death Gamble, it put him and his opponent into a pachinko machine environment where Kinji's goal is to hit a jackpot. If Kinji is able to hit a jackpot, for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, he receives unlimited cursed energy. This boost in energy makes Kinji practically invincible, and this is seen in Kinji's fight with Kashimo. During the fight, Kashima was able to blow off one of Kinji's arms. However, because Kinji had earlier hit the jackpot, his arm grew back. Now, it wasn't like Kinji was a master healer or had learned reverse curse healing, but it was the unlimited curse energy that allowed him to heal himself. Because there was so much curse energy coursing through Kinji's body, his body reflexively performed reverse curse healing to prevent his body from breaking. This meant that in a jackpot situation, Kinji was practically unkillable because his body would just automatically heal himself. Now, the basic goal of Kinji's technique is very simple, but the added rules are not. Kinji's Idle Death Gamble has multiple events, rolls, and conditions that can give him a higher probability to roll a jackpot. He even has extra techniques within his expansion that he can use to help him survive and fight long enough for him to roll a jackpot. However, the first jackpot is usually the hardest for Kinji to win, as he has very few if any ways to increase his probability. This is where Kinji's unbelievable luck comes in. Kinji is described as being extremely lucky, and not just run-of-the-mill find a lucky quarter lucky, but Disney main character early 2000s shonen protagonist lucky.
It's your shtick.
I'm lucky.
That's not a superpower.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
It really isn't.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Told you.
While his domain expansion is incredibly powerful, at the end of the day, parts of it rely heavily, if not fully, on gambling. If Kinji had been a luckless person, he most likely would have been killed by a strong opponent, but his luck allows him to hit these jackpots, putting him on a different level. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like Kinji is all luck, no skill. His skill in hand-to-hand combat and combat intelligence allows him to get to the point where he can even use his domain expansion. It's just that his unbelievable luck allows him to reach the next level. Kinji even states that, quote, "You need the skill to capitalize on your luck," and that is the perfect way to describe Kinji's strength. Now, even with all this power and the Jujutsu world going through an incredible crisis, Kinji is still guided by one thing and one thing only: the fever. Even earlier, when helping out Yuji and Megumin, he states from the beginning that his help isn't a personal favor, but it is a business deal. Kinji was willing to help out the two because he thought he could use this deal to bring his Fight Club more legitimacy. That doesn't mean Kinji is just an evil, selfish businessman. I don't want to give that impression, but you have to remember that his main drive has and always will be his fever. But honestly, it makes you think, if you had that amount of power, wouldn't you want to act the same way? Well, anyways, hope everyone enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe, and hopefully some of Kinji's luck can rub off on you too. God knows I need some, so peace out, have a good night.
やっぱりだ。退屈だよ。伏黒。